Now, we are approaching the end times. In the end times, everything is going to turn topsy-turvy. When everything turns topsy-turvy, there is going to arise a breed of people that will be a mixed breed between evil spirits and human genes. That will be a breed. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the last days. There will be this breed. If you read Daniel chapter 2, when Nebuchadnezzar sees the statue, and then the scripture where it says the feet is like clay and iron. That will be like together, but they will not be together. And then it says there a small little word which all of us overlook. And he will mingle together with the sons of men. Who is the he that will mingle again? That goes back to the days of Noah, how the evil spirits mingled with the sons of men, and a different race, a different breed was produced on the earth. And during that breed, that particular group of people they introduce demon worship, demon sacrifice, and all kinds of witchcraft practices were introduced by those demons, by that breed. See, it's an angelic breed, fallen angels and humans joined together. They have special kind of wisdom. And they revealed all this to humankind, and they practice sacrificing their children to fire, sacrificing their children to Molech, sacrificing their children to Satan. A blood sacrifice. It all started not just in India, where there's so much of blood sacrifice been given, but from the days of Noah, when the human sacrifice was given to the demons. It all started from that day. When God destroyed the people of Noah's days through the flood, the flesh got killed, not the soul and the spirit. They live on. Because they lived on, that is why during the conquest of Canaan, you'll find that there were giants in the land. Where did those giants come from? I used to wonder, where did the giants come from? When all the giants were killed in the deluge, then where did these sons of Zumin come from? Goliath and his brothers, and all these Anakim. Sounds like a name from Star Wars. Anakim, this Kim, that Kim, several Kims, They are all the various giant race groups that were living during that time. Where did they come from? The soul lives on. And from those times till today, there is an intermingling taking place, which we are not aware of. But in the last days, this will escalate. This will escalate into a larger proportion. The Antichrist needs an army of that breed. He needs that. And that is why this group will be resurrected, or they will come back again on the scene. It will make the way for the intermingling of the seed of unrighteousness with the seed of righteousness. This will take place in the last days. And when this seed is there, there will be anarchy, great chaos, great mass killings taking place in great numbers.
Below this field is one of the most complicated machines ever built, a real-life time machine. Buried hundreds of meters beneath the French-Swiss border, this machine will shoot beams of energy around a 27-kilometer-long loop and smash those beams of energy together again at the end. This giant loop is the track for the world's newest particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC. It's designed to peer into the origins of the universe and is the brainchild of 6,000 of the world's top scientific minds. Jeff Taylor is the head of physics at Melbourne University, but here in Switzerland, he's a key contributor to the LHC project.
As we come into this new era with the Large Hadron Collider, we are going to be discovering aspects of nature which we couldn't have dreamed of in the past. This is really the most exciting period for physicists, for scientists, since the beginning of the 20th century.
It's been a long time coming. We have constructed this for many, many years, and to suddenly go into this phase where really everything starts to come together and starts to click into each other and to really work as a whole is immensely exciting.
Atlas is the name of the giant detector at the heart of the project. It's being built underground in a 6-story deep construction pit filled with the world's biggest magnets, layered by 3,000 kilometers of wiring, and all weighing 7,000 tons. All of this so that protons, the heaviest part of the atom, can be smashed at near the speed of light inside the machine, creating conditions that haven't existed since a trillionth of a second after the birth of the universe.
It is a machine which operates at a temperature of 1.9 degrees Kelvin.
Which in Celsius terms?
Which is minus 271 degrees.
The collider lives at the CERN laboratory outside of Geneva. CERN buzzes. It requires its own relay station to power the collider, and above that you'll catch the intellectual hum of the world's best scientists.
At the CERN cafeteria, sometimes there are 5 Nobel Prize winners eating with students and postdocs and other staff members. It's a very, very rich environment, and it's a very testing environment. The students work very, very hard, but it's very inspiring.
At the cafeteria, I meet the head of the Atlas project. Peter Jenny tells me that when the machine gets turned on early next year, anything could happen.
We have pretty exciting ideas from theory what could happen, but the most exciting for an experimentalist would be that actually something which nobody has foreseen could be discovered. It's really going into a new land in a way. Sometimes people say it's like when people explored new territories. Columbus did find something exciting, not India, but something else, and maybe something like that may happen.
Scientists in Switzerland are attempting to disprove everything we think we know about, well, everything. Researchers with the European Organization for Nuclear Research, or CERN, are in the process of restarting the world's biggest particle accelerator. Known as the Large Hadron Collider, the restart comes after 2 years after the machine discovered the Higgs boson, or God particle, which is believed to be the key to how particles get their mass. But now scientists want to use the machine to disprove the Big Bang theory of the universe by discovering miniature black holes, which would in turn reveal parallel universes. And it only gets weirder from there. See, according to the scientist, if these black holes are detected at a particular energy, it would prove an alternate existence theory, or known as rainbow gravity, which posits that the universe stretches back in time infinitely with no origin point like the Big Bang. No word yet on whether Doctor Who will be available when scientists actually rip a hole in the space-time continuum. but we can hope.
Man, I mean, it plays right into kind of a little what you were talking about before we even hit that. That is, I mean, the Hadron Collider is something that, like, I know a lot of people are scared of. There was, like, an Onion article that a, time traveler came back and warned us about it. But, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the Hadron Collider, John. Like, where do you sit on this thing? Is it dangerous? What do you think?
I mean, as Tabitha pointed out, like, the question obviously is, are these guys up to some nefarious, plan to create a mini black hole? And if that then, gets out of control, then does it gobble up, the entire planet as a result? I'm not particularly concerned about that. I do actually have faith that they're, that they have a certain understanding of what they're trying to achieve. And I think, as I said before, the point is that we're really just at the basis of understanding our reality and our existence here. So the more that we can endeavor using things like the Hadron Collider, the more exciting I think our future will be.
And I totally agree. I mean, it's part of the human condition and experience to push forward in life. That is the most important thing for us and who we are as a people, is to keep pushing forward and keep pushing our boundaries safely, but keep pushing our boundaries as mankind, humankind.
Today, we at the Large Hadron Collider are celebrating a one-year anniversary of a quaint, simple dream. A city-sized electromagnet in an underground layer capable of firing an ultra-energized proton beam at the speed of light.
Alma Gutierrez, Baltimore Sun. What about criticisms that the LHC could have caused miniature black holes or unstable particles?
Wow. Someone's been reading too much science fiction. Yes. Anyways, no, we have not encountered any black holes or gateways to the multiverse.
I didn't say anything about gateways to the multiverse.
We are going to become gods. Period. If you don't like it, get off. You don't have to contribute. You don't have to participate. But if you're going to interfere with me becoming God, we'll have big trouble. Then we'll have warfare.
They believe they are in contact with these entities and are being directed by them. That's why they're so evil. And the entities are telling them eternal life, total power, total control, everything you could ever want. Just kill everyone. Set up a world government. Build this design we're telling you. Build what we're telling you. Build this. Build this. Let us through. Build the Hadron Collider. Open the dimensions. Let us in. We're going to really help you. We're friendly little guys. Oh, my God. We're screwed. We are in so much trouble, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a bunch of lunatic elites thinking they're talking to little gray men who are telling them how to get eternal life. Does that sound like a good idea to you?
And the fifth angel blew his trumpet, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to earth, and he was given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit. He opened the shaft of the bottomless pit, and from the shaft rose smoke, like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened with the smoke from the shaft. Then from the smoke came locusts on the earth, and they were given power like the power of scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any green plant or any tree, but only those people who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. They were allowed to torment them for 5 months, but not to kill them. And their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it stings someone. And in those days people will seek death, and will not find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them. They have as king over them the angel of the bottomless pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek he is called Apollyon. The first woe has passed. Behold, 2 woes are still to come.
I was in prayer during the night, and I got the vision of this Abaddon, and it was horrific. Then in the morning, later on that morning, I got the actual prophecy. I was hearing parts of it for a few days. Prepare for the day of Abaddon. He shall rise from beneath the earth, smoke shall ascend to the heavens. He shall be accompanied by his army of demons. He will have power to cause much pain and suffering, but not the power of death. He shall make men flee in horror, and they will not escape this torment and pain. The army and its king of the locusts shall remain among the unrepentant for 5 months. Turn from your evil ways, you men of the earth. I am a just God and a forgiving God. Return to me and escape the wrath to come. All those that seek me with their repentant heart will enter in. Come as time moves quickly and the days grow shorter.
The dream was about Abaddon. It was made clear to me in the dream that what I was seeing was related to this particular video that she made. In the dream, I saw total chaos taking place here in West Arkansas, and also it was made known in the dream that this would be taking place all across the world as well.
It's the largest machine man ever built.
That's right.
And it's amazing. The scientists are looking for God. Right. Whatever happened to church?
Right. That's right. It is the largest machine that man has ever made. It's a 17-mile long structure. And they're looking for the God particle, what holds everything together.
Right. Please welcome our guest today. Tom Horn is back with us today with a brand new book. And Chris Putman.
Yes. Chris.
Together again.
Yes.
It's an amazing book. It's so hot off the press, it's still sizzling from the press runs on it. And I have the privilege of introducing this book today on this broadcast. Thank you for letting me do this, guys. Yes. Because
awesome.
This is a very, very important book. It's on the path of the immortals. Now that sounds intriguing right there, Tom.
But I think we're on the same path that they are at the CERN Collider. They want to make contact with the immortals. We're kind of warning that the Earth is going to make contact with them, and it's not going to be pretty.
Wow. We've got some amazing stories today, amazing news as well. This machine that you see here, I don't know how many years it's been under construction, but it's actually been operating on and off for many years. It's a multiple billion-dollar machine. It's the largest machine man has ever built. And yet, most of us aren't talking about it. I'm shocked, Tom, that people are not talking about it. Like, as soon as I found out about it, I thought, what are they doing? Mm-hmm. And some scientists are afraid of what they're doing. Is that right?
Well, certainly. I mean, as these programs are playing on television, this thing will be revving up to the most powerful experiments ever conducted on the face of the Earth. They are literally going to accelerate hundreds of millions of protons inside of the tubes that you can see there behind us to just beneath the speed of light. Then they're going to compress them down to a human hair's width, and they're going to as many as 600 million particles per second. This has never happened on Earth before, unless maybe it was when God spoke and brought all these particles together the first time around. So, yeah, there are some physicists concerned. There's been fears that we might open up some kind of a black hole, and yet that's actually kind of what they want to do, and we can talk about that during the program. They want to open a black hole, and they want to see if they can send gravitons through it to communicate with the other side.
And one of the things I was saying is that I'm so concerned. ISIS is supernatural, what's going on. There's a supernatural spirit working in the world. Mm-hmm. There's supernatural in the United States of America that has put churches under such fear, they're afraid to even preach all the word of the living God.
Right.
And yet we're moving into the greatest supernatural hour the world has ever known.
That's right.
We're moving into the revelation moments.
Yes.
We're in the revelation days.
Yes.
I think the players of Revelation, many of them are on the stage already, and we don't know it. We may not know even who they are. But I believe the Antichrist, in my mind, I believe the Antichrist is alive. I really do. Just knowing dates and times and all. So I don't know, but I know this. Things are happening fast. But how can we ignore? I mean, we have it on the stage. Right here, Zach. Here's the pictures. In your face. This is a machine that man has built to try to find out who is God, where is God alive? They wanted to find the God particle.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, the Higgs boson, the God particle that Zach mentioned, is one of the particles they're looking for. They're looking for quarks. They're looking for gravitons. They want to know, how did God put this all together, and can we take it apart? The Shiva deity that they've got, right outside the main offices there at CERN.
Right.
That's what it does. It does the cosmic dance that discombobulates the world at the atomic level.
The scientific work that they're doing is legitimate. They're trying to break down what makes up an atom, and they get smaller and smaller. What happens, though, is the smaller they get, the weirder things get. And just to put it really simply, what Einstein discovered and what they're discovering the smaller they get is that human consciousness, the observer, affects reality. So some of these things, it looks like a wave, okay? Sometimes it looks like a bullet, like a particle. Now, it's actually both until somebody looks at it. When you look at it, it actually determines what state it's in, which is really odd given an atheistic world. That wouldn't make any sense. Why would your mind have any effect over reality? So they're actually proving our worldview through their atheistic mindset, whether they realize it or not, because they're proving that human consciousness, our soul, our essence, actually affects physical reality in a ways that we really don't understand at all.
Is it true they're trying to discover another realm, another level, perhaps a portal into another dimension?
Absolutely.
Or to the God dimension?
Yeah. In fact, Zach, this would be something you'd want to watch. There's a documentary. You can go online. It was put together by some of the CERN physicists and other physicists. It's called The World of String Theory, The Theory of Everything. But when you watch that online, fast forward it to 33 minutes. Anybody that knows anything about the Freemasons would know that that number 33 is really an important marker in the film, right? But fast forward it to 33 minutes and listen to them start describing how they're going to open these black holes. They're going to try to find gravitons, which is the particle they think gravity is made out of. But the point is, some of their early experiments showed gravitons disappearing, and they think into a parallel universe. Now they're going to do it again, and this time they're going to try to track what's happening with these gravitons and where they're going. But when you watch that documentary, here's where it gets interesting and even supernatural. They say if gravitons are escaping into a parallel universe, then gravitons might be a tool that we can use to send a communication through into the other universe to say, we're here, come and talk to us. And then they said maybe something would be sent back through to us. In fact, the director at CERN, we put this on the back of our book, the director at CERN said the Large Hadron doorway to an extra dimension, and out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. That's Sergio. He's telling you exactly what they intend to use that machine for. That's what they're trying to do. Verify a parallel reality.
Now, if I remember correctly, back when I was a boy, back in the Bible days, when they were building a tower called Babel or Babylon, a tower to go into heaven. Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, if my mind serves me correctly, they were looking for more of a doorway to heaven. Now, let's face it. You're not going to build a stairway or a tower and walk up and go into heaven. You can't climb that high. So I don't think they were trying to build just a tower that would get up and say, hi, God, good morning. They were looking to go into a spiritual dimension, perhaps. What do you think?
The word Babylon, it translates as a gateway to heaven. So it's not just like a tower. Some people might even say it was a staircase, but really it seems to me something more along the lines of a portal to an extra dimensional reality. So we're thinking, we live in 3 dimensions that we see, and they would say the 4th dimension is time. Perhaps there are other 3-dimensional, they call them brain worlds. So this would be a membrane that we're on. There's another membrane, which is entirely another 3-dimensional universe apart from ours. But gravity communicates between them. That's why they're using gravitons as the method of detection.
And by the way, the world is probably getting ready to believe again, because if the stuff that we've written about in here happens, if those gates open as they're prophesied to do in the Bible, and the things that it says are going to come up out of the earth, the last show I did with you, we were talking about the Islamic State and what they're doing, and the Islamic Antichrist and the mission that they are on. But central to their belief system is that the Mahdi is inside the earth.
The Mahdi means?
The Mahdi, their 12th Imam, their Messiah. He's already here. He's inside the ground. He's behind a magical gate. And it's going to open, and he's going to come up out of it, and that's going to be the Messiah, right? Well, the book of Revelation tells us the same thing, but it says an angel with a key comes down, opens the bottomless pit, and this hell on earth scenario actually happens, and it's Apollyon, the destroyer, the very one where they built this place, Apolliacum, where they built CERN, where it was dedicated to him in ancient days. So we believe the same thing. We too believe the earth is going to open, the gates of the earth. And by the way, that's a biblical concept. All the way through the scripture, if people hear us talking about portals, and they think, oh, that's just an American Indian idea, some kind of New Age wackoism. There are redundant stories through the Bible that talk about specific geographical locations, often associated with mountains, where it says that there are gateways, and they do open. And they're prophesied to open again at the end of time, and that's the spooky part. That's why I say it's the most overlooked end times prophetic scenario that the world is not talking about, the church is not talking about. We'll talk about the Middle East, we even talk about Islam, and we should, right? Yes. But central to those very same prophecies is this one element nobody's talking about that we're talking about here. It also describes a dynamic earth, a dynamic planet in which there are things that are waiting behind doorways, and the Bible says those gates are going to open. And it says men's hearts are going to fail them for fear for seeing those things that are coming upon the earth. So the church may not believe in the supernatural anymore, but they're going to.
The thing that ties all this together to this science and the Large Hadron Collider and the things that we started the show with is that these are scientifically respectable ideas these days. Parallel universes, parallel worlds, wormholes, these portals we're talking about. I mean, this isn't just science fiction now. I mean, these are very serious ideas, and people take them very seriously. I have an article right in front of me that says the Milky Way galaxy could be a galactic transport system. And this is an idea saying that every spiral galaxy actually has a black hole in the middle that connects somewhere else.
And it's traversable.
And it's traversable, that you could actually travel from it to a different universe. Now, a famous Harvard physicist, his name is Owen Greenwich, he said, it's amazing to me that scientists can believe in parallel universes, have difficulty believing in heaven and hell. I mean, really, if you can believe in that, if you can believe in a parallel universe, why can't you believe in heaven or in hell? I think what they're doing is proving our worldview, whether they accept it or not.
I heard one of the scientists say that they thought the Big Bang Theory wasn't true now. I mean, I don't know what they all think. Have you heard that?
They're debating that. They don't like it because if there's a beginning, that implies that something got it all started. And anything that begins to exist has a cause, okay? So that's one of my favorite arguments for the existence of God. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, Big Bang Theory. Therefore, the universe has a cause. Now, whatever that cause is, it caused nature, did it not? It created nature, right? If everything came into existence, that would make it above nature, supernatural. So there we have a supernatural creator who created the universe. Now, how does that, relate to CERN? They're looking at atoms. They're looking at little teeny things. Now, how would they discover the universe? Well, the cool thing about the Big Bang Theory is really their main evidence is that the universe is expanding like this, and it's growing. And so all they do is they reverse it. And they just make, if we take this back in time, and they go back 13 billion, 0.7 years, is what most of them say, you get to what they call a singularity, which just means it gets so small that they don't know what to call it anymore. And so at CERN, they're actually trying to recreate the Big Bang. They're trying to find that particle that nothing will get any smaller than, that singularity. So they actually believe, through some of these experiments, that they'll figure out how everything came to be.
Now, doesn't the Bible say something about perhaps giants coming back in the last days?
Yeah.
And
That's That's scarier yet to me.
Well, and that, again, is central to end times biblical prophecy. There's reasons to believe, by the way, it may have even been dated as to when it's going to happen, which may set it between 2015 to 2017. But the prophet Enoch actually put a date on when it would happen, when the gates would open. He talks about the same stuff that Isaiah talks about.
These characters or creatures are going to come through portholes?
Well, look, Isaiah chapter 13 is the important chapter we're talking about with the return of the Nephilim, the return of these giants. Most of your Bibles are not going to have it there because we're dealing with the oldest copies that we have are written in Greek. It's called the Septuagint version of the Old Testament. And this is when the Jews translated it into the Greek language. It's called Septuagint. It's just the word for 70. There were 70 scholars who worked on it. And chapter 13 actually says, in the end times, giants are coming to execute my wrath.
Right. Well, I actually brought a copy of the Septuagint version of the Bible. The Greek Septuagint was translated into English in the 1800s by Sir Lancelot C.L. Brenton. Then 160 years later, a crazy guy named Tom Horn that owns Defender Publishing decided he would republish it. And and I'm going to leave this copy with you. And anybody else on your staff that wants a copy of the Septuagint, tell me and I'll just send them over.
Wow.
But here's the important thing was the Greek king of Egypt, Ptolemy II, he assembled the 70 greatest scholars of Hebrew language 200 years before Christ, because, a lot of people don't know this, that by the time Christ came, for hundreds of years, the Jews didn't speak Hebrew. They spoke Koine Greek. That was the common language in the Middle East. Only their rabbis like Jesus and people like that would have been educated enough to read Hebrew, so they created a Greek version of the Bible. Right. The Apostle Paul quotes the Septuagint in the New Testament. It's the Bible Jesus read. That's why this is called the Apostles' Bible. So pretty important to have a copy that was written down then, right?
Yeah.
When these Hebrew scholars knew that words like Nephilim, Raphaim, that they referred to these giant monstrosities. It wasn't until the 3rd century that the Catholic Church didn't like this idea of angels marrying women, and they created the Sethite theory, and that's a fact provable. But before that period of time, all scholars believed in the giants, believed that they existed, believed that they were wiped out, and also believed they were coming back. The earliest church fathers wrote about this. Some of the turn of the century greatest minds out there wrote about how the earth is going to open and giants are going to come out at the end of time. Where would they get such an idea, right? It's right here in the Bible. And when you read it in the Septuagint, here's what it says. Chapter 13:1, the vision which Isaiah son of Amos saw against Babylon. Lift up a standard on the mountain of the plain, exalt the voice to them, beckon with the hands. Listen what happens here. Open the gates, ye ruler. I give command, and I bring them. Giants are coming to fulfill my wrath. This is a central piece of end times biblical prophecy. All of our favorite Bible students of prophecy write about this, talk about how Babylon's never been fully destroyed, is going to be at the end of time. But brother, keep reading on in here. For behold, the day of the Lord is coming, which cannot be escaped, a day of wrath and anger to make the world desolate. It goes on, and then it starts describing other things, not just giants, monsters, satyrs, half-human goats, all kinds of craziness. Why? Because, Jim, you said that, like, America has started closing the door on God. But when you close the door on God, you open the door for something else. And that's exactly what we're doing in the spirit realm right now. Right. We're opening the door for an influx of evil. Keep in mind, we're using the term portal. It kind of sounds like Star Trek or something, right? Yeah. That's why I say portal, doorway, gateway. We're just trying to provide an image for the mind to understand that there are strategic places on the earth, that is biblical, that the Bible provides numerous equations about that, and so do other ancient extra biblical books like the book of Enoch, which talks about the angels coming through a portal on the Mount of Hermon, and they go down to the valley of the plain. They're the ones that started this whole business with the giants back there, right? But there in Caesarea Philippi, at the base of Mount Hermon, the Greeks built mystical gateways to commemorate that into the side of the mountain. And that's where Jesus is standing years later with his disciples when he says, and the gates of hell will not prevail against my church. See, there's really an upside to part of this, too. It's amazing that the world's heart is going to fail them for fear when the gates open in the Euphrates River and the angels come up out of there and they're wiping out humanity. Or when the angel comes down and he opens the bottomless pit, another gate. He has a key to it. And up out of there comes this demonic locust horde. But notice what it says. Don't touch those who have the seal of God on their forehead. See? So, all right. So we may go into some pretty amazing, even frightening things, but if you belong to God, he's going to take care of it. If you read in the Septuagint, Isaiah 13, he has a prophecy in which he says that at the end of time, when the complete destruction of Babylon occurs and these wars that are coming up with Islam and all that, that a commander, a ruler, I don't know who this ruler is. Is it an angel? Is it God? He just says, open the gates, ye ruler, I give command, and I bring them. Giants are coming to fulfill my wrath. And then it goes on to describe, before the end of that chapter, other, like monstrosities, like satires, half-goat, human-like beings, all these things coming up out of the earth that are going to be part of this great tribulation period, part of this great judgment. Now, here's why I brought up the book of Enoch. Enoch gives the same prophecy. Enoch chapter 10, Enoch chapter 15. Read those chapters. He too says they're bound under the surface of the earth. In fact, I'll read it to you. He says, the spirits of the giants shall be concealed, and shall not rise up against the Son of Men and against women until they come forth during the days of slaughter and destruction. He then, though, goes on to say this. Enoch says when it's going to happen. He says it's going to happen 70 generations after the flood. So if you know when the flood occurred, and what is a generation? Well, a generation based on Psalms 90:10 is 70 years. So you would literally say, if I knew when the flood happened, I could go 70 generations of 70 years, which is 4,900 years, right? Well, the most recent statistics, in fact, there's scientific groups that are working on this. They're called the Holocene Impact Group because they think a meteor hit the earth and that's what caused the flood, because they have evidence of a great flood. They date this to 4,800 to 4,900. They date this to 2,800 to 2,900 BC. What am I saying all these numbers for? Bottom line is, if that is when the flood happened, you count 4,900 years later, it brings you to 2015, 2016, 2017. It brings you to right now when Enoch says those gates are going to open and the giants are going to come out. One other thing, now this is going to blow you away, right?
Okay, I'm ready.
Because as he's given this prophecy here in Isaiah 13, he's saying the giants are coming out. Look at what else he adds. For behold, the day of the Lord is coming, it cannot be escaped. For the stars of heaven and Orion and all the hosts of heaven shall not give their light, and it shall be dark at sunrise, and the moon shall not give her light. He literally is putting this in the blood moon season.
It is revelation.
Yeah.
This is revelation word. It's the sun and the moon's going to be darkened.
Yeah.
We are here now, folks.
But the other thing about this is that it is located in St. Pouilly. It's right there on the border, and in ancient Roman times, that was called the Apolliacum. That was the location of Apollo. And there was a temple there for the worship of Apollo. So why is that unnerving? Because Apollo is definitely related to the sounding of the fifth and sixth trumpets. When the angel comes down with a key to the bottomless pit, opens it up, and it says they have a king over them down there, which is Abaddon, which is called in the Greek tongue Apollyon, Apollo. And, of course, that's the spirit that's going to come up and inhabit the Antichrist. So to build this machine that wants to open a door into another universe right where the ancients said the Apolliacum was located is just some kind of unnerving.
People want to understand what CERN is. If they would just indulge me for a little bit, they'll have a clear understanding of why they're doing it, what they're looking for, and what is the potential and the facts that will come out of these experiments. CERN, and amazingly, from the scientific community or anybody who has knowledge of physics, they will not tear it apart because they understand what I'm saying. So I'm gonna make this as basic as possible. I want you all to imagine, if you want to know what CERN is doing, I want you to imagine you come into a world and you find architecture all over the place, buildings and homes and houses, and you think they're beautiful, and it's really a big discovery. You find out with the houses, you can house people. You can do many things with a house, with a structure. All of a sudden, after many years, you become curious and you say, what's holding all this together? And you begin to find not nails that you can take out, but glue that has bonded itself to the materials. And you become interested in that glue that's holding the structure together. And so you're fascinated by this glue, and you've tried everything to replicate it. You can't, because it's hardened. Glue is hardened. You come to the realization the only way to find out how this glue is working is to break it down to its basic particles. And you have to have that glue in its former state, not the state after it's already hardened, right? So you don't want it in the cured state, the state that you can see. You want it in its initial state, which is a liquid state, before it hardens. And so CERN, basically, is a device that will allow them to examine particles in their initial state, not after everything is bonded together. That's a very simple way to look at what CERN is doing. They're trying to find the glue that holds everything together, is what they're doing. That's the purpose of CERN. Now, what has come out of CERN is called antimatter, which was first actually produced. It was first produced in 1955. And CERN is a very old organization, but it was produced in 1955, and they found positrons, which are anti-electrons. To understand what antimatter is, I'm going to have to explain the very bare basics of what matter is. And believe me, it's going to get very weird here shortly, because you're going to begin to see exactly what they're doing. But you have to understand what you're looking at now. The matter and antimatter are in fact opposites. Now, the matter that we have in front of us, if you take a piece of wood, nothing happens. It's just a piece of wood. But if you set that wood on fire, you have caused a reaction. And then it's in a dangerous potential state. It's active. If you have a battery outside of your cell phone, it does nothing. You put the battery inside the cell phone, the electrons begin to flow. The electrons will flow from one place to another. Essentially, that's what electronics are, the control of electrons. They control the direction, the speed of electrons, which create tiny pulses. They flow or don't flow, flow or don't flow. Those are called gates. Those gates form computers. And with a computer, we can do fascinating things. This is why they did, in fact, take Nikola Tesla's findings, because he discovered some things with electrons and protons that were very fascinating. Electricity within itself is a visual observation of electrons and protons. Active state, non-controlled state. Antimatter is the opposite of the matter that we can control. Antimatter cannot be controlled. In fact, when they first produced antimatter, they had to have a facility to contain it, because unlike the wood, where you have to have a reaction to cause it to burn, antimatter, you have to have a containment to cause it not to burn. That's the only way they can store it, with massive facilities to store it. Let me give you an example. In a nuclear bomb, it takes timing, which takes electronics, and the explosions have to be just right to cause a reaction. That's a nuclear bomb, like the Hiroshima bomb, which takes pounds of nuclear material to cause it to react. And it has to be very precise. Well, let's go the opposite. Let's say we had antimatter, correct? If we had 1 gram of antimatter, that would equal about 42 or 40, let's just say 45 kilotons of TNT, which is about 4 Hiroshima bombs. And it's already inherently unstable. It's unstable. The only way to harness antimatter is to contain it. And it takes very large and expensive facilities to contain just 1 gram of antimatter. Some have failed, some have not. If those containment devices fail, they cause megaquakes. That's what happens when they fail. Now, we're talking small, tiny drops of antimatter. I mean, just drops of raw antimatter. It's highly unstable. It has to be isolated from the rest of reality when it's contained in a literal sense. Now, given that this can be weaponized, which is true, well, there are other implications that the average person has not thought about. Our body is held together by that glue that they're searching for, that bonds matter together. Those who understand what's called the standard model, they have a pretty good idea of what would happen if the force table in the standard model is just an explanation of how all things work. You're dealing with matter and force, and they have categorized the elements of matter, everything we can touch and feel and observe, in what's called quarks, the building blocks of protons and nuclei, and leptons, which are essentially, well, that would be like an electron. And then we have force. Force are lumps of energy that transmit the forces that bring matter to life. But like a photon, it carries the electromagnetic force. Without a photon, we couldn't produce motors or anything else. Without gluons, which carry a strong force, neutrons and protons would not be held together. In other words, the universe would not exist. And of course, you have U, W, and Z particles, which are for weak forces that govern radioactivity. So you have this standard model, and they have broken this down. But what they're looking for is a higher explanation of how everything works. This is the particle they're searching for. Now, they found half of it. They already found a component of it. That was the Higgs field. Now, the Higgs field is an explanation they found the traces of the Higgs field. They can now observe the Higgs field. The Higgs field is what is found wherever matter is not. In your room, the Higgs field is in operation. Listen, with the Higgs field, they can begin to alter reality as we know it. Now, a lot of people they can't capture that right away. But you have to remember our world is made up of matter. The antimatter is what we can't see, what we can't touch, what we can't feel, though we interact with it every day. A lot of people like to think of antimatter as the other dimension, which is the opposite of this dimension. It's an inconceivable place that is hostile inherently. It's not under control. It's very hostile. This dimension would be the more tamed dimension. Here's what they've done since the 1930s. Well, actually, since the 1800s. There was a group that studied nothing but the phenomena of paranormal activity, not like you've seen on TV, not like you've seen in Hollywood, not like anyone knows about. But they studied the science behind paranormal activity and have then defined that this is called a dimensional slip, where things can obviously interact with this world all the time. And they were wondering the interactions between known matter and that type of matter. But they also found with antimatter, this antimatter can be absorbed by any realm of paranormal activity. It is, in effect, neutralized and absorbed. So there's a physical effect to the spiritual world in antimatter. And often, demonic entities and all these other paranormal things are attracted to antimatter. They're attracted to it. For every gram of antimatter that's produced, and then it's brought into this world, when they produce it, it attracts things from another dimension coming here. What is CERN going to do? Is to allow humanity to produce pounds of antimatter. What's happening, that is the unseen portion of dark matter. And of course you have the angels which govern what that realm can and cannot do. It's not it's a shame, and I have to continue to say this, it's a shame that the Christian community cannot believe the Bible when it's talking about things like that, because it's going to cause them to be harmed. What they fail to adopt from the Bible, what they fail to believe, is going to harm them. It's going to harm them. They may not be lost in their spirits, but they're certainly going to have lumps all over the place. It's going to harm them. And I hope people have a general understanding of matter, which we can touch and feel and observe, and antimatter, which we cannot touch, feel, or observe. However, it's working in tandem with the matter, because everything is balanced, the subject of Lucifer in the spiritual sense, because God gives everything balance. Everything has balance. There is dark, there is light, there is good, there is bad. Everything has balance. I mean, God could have not. Why did he put the serpent in the garden in the first place? For balance. God can't give us an honest choice unless we're faced with an equal balance of obedience and disobedience, good and evil. And so Lucifer is used to be that balance of darkness with the light that we're given. And the reason why I say people are going to be harmed when they don't believe these things is because if they do not believe in the spiritual realm of our Lord, well, then they're giving the spirits authority to work in their lives. CERN has yielded so many results and gave a true definition of paranormal activity. It's beyond me that a lot of people cannot get this through the truth of the word. They can't. Antimatter is being pulled out of nowhere, out of this other dimension, which is nowhere but everywhere. In consequence to that, they found out antimatter has a specific type of energy signature that they can, in fact, detect. This is how is part of the process of pulling it out. Well, as it comes to find out, some of the not-so-good consequences of this process has to do with the human psyche. Stephen Hawking, he understands the implications of what could happen. He understands how it can affect the psyche. For a long time, Stephen Hawking did not believe there was a God. For a long time, he didn't. But you see, something is changing with him. He is beginning to see that everything is so precise, it's impossible for it to be happenstance. I mean, everything down to a trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a meter is absolutely precise, and he's beginning to change his mind. It's what's happening to him. He's changing his mind. He is now beginning to entertain the idea that what people call divine is in fact done by some sort of architect they have no concept of. Now, with the general basis of what CERN is doing, that's the basic idea of what they're doing, and that's exactly what they're doing with particles. Here comes the other part that's not so good. This is why they have to do another set of it. Listen, it's not just one experiment they're about to perform. This thing is going to run 6 months continuously, colliding protons near the speed of light to analyze particles, exotic particles that are made at the beginning of the Big Bang. That's why they call it the Big Bang machine. It's the only way to observe these particles, which wink in and out of existence in, a fraction of time. A fraction of time. And the consequence of this search to gather more and more of this matter, by the way, they have a more efficient method of pulling out or gathering antimatter, which is why they need to know the properties of some more properties of this particle they have described. Once they have these properties, they will be able to extract as much antimatter as they desire efficiently. It's right now to obtain antimatter is very inefficient. It's very inefficient. In other words, to get a pound of it would take about 10,000 years at the current rate. It's just not going to work. CERN will allow them to do that probably within a week. But here's the consequence. They've observed the energy of both matter and antimatter. They found out that antimatter is intimately tied to every single life form on. They found out that energy signature is the same energy signature in all life on this planet. All life, none excluded. Found out when any life form is in the presence of antimatter, the energy of the life form changes. The energy changes. I'll put this in basic terms. A person has both dark and light already in them. It's part of their makeup. It's what you can't live in a material world without antimatter. Nothing would exist. And so a person has both good energy, which would be this realm, this realm of matter, but they also have energy of antimatter. So they're connected. A person is connected to both realms at the same time on the energy level, and they don't even know it. They don't know it. And they have found, certainly, with all the experiments they have found out why paranormal activity exists. They know exactly what it is. They don't want to tell anybody. This is why they perpetuate foolishness on television. But every single person, every single life form is connected to that realm, that other realm, into this realm of reality all the time. Now, a person's thoughts, how a person feels, and doctors know about this too, how a person feels will determine which energy they draw from. You can draw from this realm, good realm, and you have positive results. That's called faith. That's why doctors believe in it. That's why they give out placebos. They know that if a person believes something is helping them, they have it within themselves to repair. They can command their bodies to be repaired simply based on belief. I think they work. And people have recovered from cancer. People have recovered from back injuries. Quadriplegics have been repaired simply by their own faith. This other realm, because that energy is contained in another dimension, so to speak, that's the containment wall. But when a person draws that energy in, it is the opposite of this realm. In this realm, again, we have to light a piece of wood with a flame to catch it on fire. In that realm, it's already on fire. You have to contain it to see the wood because it's engulfed in flames. It's the opposite of this realm. When a person changes their emotional state, their energy changes, and they begin to draw their energy from this other dimension, this chaotic and violent and uncontainable place where they draw dark matter from, intimately linked. And it's in operation all the time. Now, the scientists, they are aware of this. Now, here's the other part that's not so comforting. On the spring equinox, forces change on the Earth, and they know this. They know that forces do change, which will, in fact, allow them to have better results. And believe me, it's timed perfectly. It is timed perfectly. With the basic introduction of what CERN is doing and what it is, and the dark matter and matter itself, now we get into the heart of the matter, of what's actually, there will be consequences. It's just that there have been consequences before. Nobody took notice, and the energy signature of dark matter, which, by the way, resides everywhere. But once you bring it into this realm, where we can actually see it, observe it, it attracts things from the other realm. Dark matter is tied to dark matter. Everything has a connection. Everything has a connection. That connection can never be broken by anything. If they bring dark matter into this realm, it's still connected to that realm where the dark matter came from. No matter how far away they put it anywhere, it's still connected. Because that realm is everywhere and it's still connected. Because it's connected, it effectively increases paranormal activity around where it's contained. And this is why they shift facilities of where they once kept dark matter in a college. I won't name it for the sake of the college, but the university, they had to move it to a deep underground facility because of what was happening to the people in the college. People began to have vivid dreams, nightmares. The violence began to erupt, and vile things began to happen in those places. And it's because it's a chaotic piece of matter. It is just chaotic. And it's very difficult to contain something that is so powerfully chaotic. This is what an explosion is, by the way. When an atom bomb explodes, it's chaos. Chaos in the form of chemicals, reactions, and everything is out of order. An explosion is the absence of order. That's what an explosion is. When you contain something, you're giving it order. So it's controlled. Here's the worst part. Understanding that dark matter is always connected to its source, which is that realm where the dark matter came from, the realm that's all around us. Just imagine that dark matter being the ocean, right? Imagine this realm being the submarine. We're all in the submarine having fun, and we're doing our thing, and we have disagreements here and disagreements there. And then we find out there's a hole in the sub. But the hole is not, we thought the hole was in the sub, but it wasn't in the submarine itself. It was, in fact, in the people. The people's water inside their bodies began to increase based on their emotions. Let's just say that. And the dark matter can then come into this realm through people. That's, in fact, what they discovered in 1950, that people can also produce dark matter by way of, it's very minute, it's very tiny, but it's measurable, it's quantifiable. In fact, they now know how much energy a person has to have before they go absolutely berserk. They also know how much of that energy signature a person must have before an entity from that realm can possess them, which also allowed them to understand that not everybody can be possessed. Not everybody can be, but the person has to be prepared to be possessed. They have to be, in essence, they have to be a portal themselves to be possessed. Just not everybody can be possessed. And so, not to get way off target, but this dark matter is everywhere. That you know what, all these things, here's what, I mean, it really gets to me, is that these scientists, over the course of many years, have quantified, or they have calculated these things. They have extracted the truth, the facts, yet the Christians don't believe it. And these crooked people in certain places have already been harnessing this power for themselves, and it's been effective every single step of the way. Yet the Christian community, for some reason, has a mental block on certain things of God, as though they have all the time in the world. I will say this, and then I'll get back to CERN, that if a person trusts their father, they don't need the father to explain everything. They just need to know that the father said it, and they'll go do it. If you tell a child, you need to go rake the yard, a child's not going to sit there and say, well, what brings you to that conclusion? A child's not going to do that. You'll just go out there and rake the yard. Over time, you'll find out why, but you have already performed what the Father said. But in the Christian community, we have to know why everything is before we do anything. In the scientific community, they see the facts. They know they don't understand it fully. And so they have experiments, and they learn along the way. In fact, they're obedient to their own disciplines, and we're not obedient to our own disciplines. So the problems about CERN, I know everybody's waiting on this. What could potentially happen from this? Well, they had another discovery, that dark matter causes other pieces of dark matter that they have contained to react. In other words, if you have a container, say you had a teaspoon of dark matter, and let's just say you had it in Pennsylvania, and somebody else had that same teaspoon of dark matter in California, then as soon as the teaspoon of dark matter is exposed to the elements in Pennsylvania, it causes the dark matter in California to begin to activate. In other words, you lose containment in one place, containment in another place is going to be lost. It's going to be lost. So they're intimately tied together. Now, we've covered the fact that people have the signatures of the energy of dark matter in them and matter. So they contain both matter and antimatter, in a sense, the signature of energy. They're not put together. It's just that signature. And we draw upon those based upon our thoughts and what's in our minds and what's in our hearts, in a sense. With CERN, as they begin to divide these protons, dark matter is going to be produced in great numbers. I mean, in greater and greater numbers. Not only the matter, but the energy signature is going to also be released into this realm. You know what that's going to cause? It's going to cause the dark energy signature within people to begin to activate more and more. You see, it's going to become difficult for people to stay contained or controlled. In essence, they're going to become violent. They're going to have vivid dreams. The darkness within a person is absolutely going to begin to surface. And this is not theoretical. This is not some theory somebody thought of. This is absolutely 100% quantifiable, and it's happened before. It's going to happen in greater numbers this time. It will take effect. That's also been weaponized. Nobody knows this, and I probably won't be in trouble for this, but they have a weapon concerning dark matter that they can put within a country or a specific place to cause chaos. It's a weapon. They've used it before. They can unleash this, and it can cause chaos anywhere they want chaos to be rampant. Also, there's something very important about that. I know this firsthand. There are often times you have to partake in the weapons development program. A rat, so to speak, in a maze to see firsthand what the effects are going to be. I'll describe something. People can believe it or not, but sooner or later they're going to experience it too. I am a Christian. I know that Jesus died on the cross for the remissions of sins and now sits at the right hand of the Father, soon to be sent to us again. I rely on the blood of the Lamb. I am, as a soldier, I count my Lord and Savior as my commander. And so I am used to taking orders and to operate life or death in those orders that he gave. That's the only thing that saved my life one day. I was thrust into a position where I had to absolutely 100% fight to keep my flesh under full subjection. I could not believe the intensity of what was happening. My thoughts were all over the place. It was almost like every evil thing that was in me came to the surface with a snap of a finger. Irritation, aggravation, anxiety, fear, just anger, hatred, all sorts of things in the snap of a finger. The only thing that kept me still, the challenge was to be still. The only thing that kept me still, I had to absolutely 100% focus on the Lord. I had to focus on him. It's the only way to overcome that is to focus on him and place the flesh under subjection. If a person's out there and they say, well, I have no power to control myself. Yes, you do. You don't want to control yourself. Believe me, that power is within you, is given through the Holy Spirit. I felt the power, the protective power, the blood of the Lamb and the Holy Spirit during that test. I was amazed. I didn't know this could be harnessed in that way. I did not know, but it happened. And this was a weapon. This was a mild weapon. And you have to cling, people have to cling to the Word of God and his promises. Most importantly, his instruction. You know, not one time when I was in that test, I didn't think about his promises. I thought about his love. That's what I thought about. And when I began to think about his love, something happened within me. Everything came under subjection as though it took no effect. That's what happened. They found the force that holds the dark energy or the dark matter away from this realm. They call it the wall. There's another name for that. A name of which that those particles they're going to find, they found part of it. They're going to find the other pieces that are in that wall. And when they find the other pieces to this wall, they will then be able to undo that wall. There's another name for that wall, the veil. We call it the veil. It holds back that realm. They found out what's holding back the dark energy from, because it would be absolutely destructive if the two met. But they found out. Now with this as a weapon, there is no counter weapon to this. China is building an LHC facility. They're building a particle accelerator. There are, to present day count, about 14 particle accelerators in existence. 14, not just one. All the countries are vested in the CERN facility. Every single last country. But the United States, we have 3 facilities here. 3. I can't tell you where they are. One they began to build, but they couldn't, but they went ahead and built it anyway. It's in one of the biggest states in the United States, and it's there and it's operational. It's also going to be powered up during this time. I'm saying this because when this thing does power up, the immediate effects are not what I'm worried about. That's not my concern. The psychological effects on people is going to become quite evident. And I know that people will come under some strange attacks, some strange occurrences and incidents. I know that the only way they can be protected from such things is their unqualified belief in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You can't fake it. There is no substitute. People know if a person is real or not because they emit a different energy. That energy is that wall that this other realm cannot breach. It can't breach it. And it's absolutely going to take effect. The collider, think of a collider as hundreds of nuclear explosions taking place within 1 second. They're containing it. It goes beyond fusion. It's in a realm by itself when they collide protons. They are going to find these particles, and within months, they're going to put into motion what we talked about today, and people are going to feel these effects. And then this other realm is going to begin to spill over in multiple places, everywhere. Violence will increase. The crucial side of this is that with this show coming up, people are going to realize, all too painfully, what we've talked about today, but they have to start now. They really have to. They can't make excuses for their flesh anymore. They cannot make excuses for their emotional state anymore. They're going to, if they love the Lord, if they truly want to be with Him, if they can recognize His love for them, they're going to have to fight for it today. They're going to have to fight for it every single moment. They're going to have to keep this negative energy away from them. They're going to have to immerse themselves in the truth of our Lord. That's the only way they're going to be able to survive. You know, in this time that's coming, which is coming quickly, I mean like within weeks, people are going to be thrust into, they're going to have ideas and things that they didn't think they had. Now, some people may say, well, you know, all my thoughts are my own. Then why would God say, take captive your thoughts? Why would He say, die to your flesh daily? Why would He say the flesh and the spirit war continuously? Why are those things said? Because we have the power to overcome our own flesh, because the darkness in this world is about to be pulled out of everything. Everything with darkness in it. That darkness is about to surface in a way that no one ever forecasted or thought possible, but it's absolutely going to take place. And the only way a person can overcome this is through the true power of the Holy Spirit and to stay within the blood of the Lamb. There is no hypocrisy in purity. There is no hatred in purity. There is no accusation in purity. And people need to be in that purity, in truth, not acting like they're in the purity. They have to be there. It has to be in their hearts. And they have to do everything they can do to get a heart transplant right now so they can be strong enough to endure. Because we all have to finish this race. None of us knows when we're absolutely going, but I for one, intend to finish this race, and I'm trying to sound an alarm that something very different is going to be all too evident to everybody who believes in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And without him in truth, they're not going to make it. They will not make it without him in truth.
How are we going to protect ourselves in the last days? Now there is a prophecy in the Bible that says, in the last days, the spade and the flesh hooks will all be turned into weapons of war. They will be all turned into weapons of war. So, in the end times, just like how God commanded Israel to kill their enemies for their survival, for their living in the land, God will need to give us new set of commandments. Version 3.0. This is not laughing matter, you know. This is very serious stuff that we are going to enter into. The days are already here. We are at the doorstep now. You know, I read about a pastor, a minister of God, an American minister, who went to London and he stood in the streets and preached against the gays. And a passerby who was a gay was so offended by his preaching because he boldly said a statement like this: the lifestyle of gay, homosexuality, is sin in the eyes of God. That man was so offended, he reported the minister to the police. The police came, arrested him, and he was put in prison one entire day, taken down all his statement, and then he was let free with a warning never to speak on such topics again. You see, such laws are already here at our doorstep. So what will we do? Keep mum about it? And I'm glad that Brother Bobby very forcefully last night spoke against it. How many of us will do that? Are we going to be a chicken? Those days are right at our doorstep. Those days are not very far into the future, you know. Right at your doorstep.